Hi guys, this is Max here, back again with hopefully another great political video, and today we're going to take a look at Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema. Now, she has recently announced her departure from the Democratic Party and her intent to register as an Arizona independent. Now, the catch here is that Kirsten Sinema is becoming an actual independent, not an independent like Bernie Sanders, who is just to the left of the Democratic Party and is an independent in nothing but name. He's a Democrat in everything but name. He doesn't identify as a Democrat because he thinks the Democratic Party should be more left, but on virtually every single issue, he always votes with the Democratic Party. Kirsten Sinema is trying to become a center independent, somebody who's not really Republican, not really Democrat, but she's still in the Democratic caucus, so she can be on committees. Now, what do we have here? This is a chart that I found on the web. Overall, independents are a plurality in the United States. 38% identify as independent. However, out of those 38%, 17% say that they still mostly vote for Democrat candidates, and 13% say that they almost always vote for Republican candidates. There's only about 7% who identify as pure independents who could vote for both Democrats and Republicans. And Kirsten Sinema is trying to join those 7%. Now, the issue with becoming part of these 7% is that literally you're becoming a part of these 7%. That means you're joining a small minority of Americans in your political party affiliation. And if you believe she'll be able to reach out to all those independents that are Democrats and all those independents that are Republicans as well, if she just does a good campaign, well, that's not going to happen because those 13% of Republicans are independent and those 17% of Democrats, many of them should actually be on that side of the spectrum or on that side because they're more extreme, more radical than the generic member of their said party. Now, there are a few center independents, but they're in a minority, and that's why I believe it will be difficult for Kirsten Sinema to win. However, overall, her party switch doesn't surprise me all that much. Here, this website 538 tracks how much somebody voted with Donald Trump in the age of Trump. Here we can see that she voted with Donald Trump a total of 50.4% of the time. And she voted, and that is overall a plus 3.5% Trump score. So she literally voted with Trump more often than she voted against Trump. And to be fair, many other Democrats did the same thing. But most Democrats, most more liberal Democrats, they tended to vote against Donald Trump many times. Like Kirsten Gillibrand, a senator from New York, voted against Donald Trump, negative 22.5%, and she voted with him 12.4% of the time. Now, what we need to look at next is what will change for the United States Senate. Now, even if Sinema became a Republican, that still would mean that the Democrats had a majority since, well, they have 51 Senate seats now following the election, and then simply Vice President Harris could break the tie. So even if Kirsten Sinema joined the Republican caucus, Democrats would still have a majority. Now, as of right now, it looks like she's going to remain in the Democrat Party caucus, but she is, as far as I'm concerned, going to consider herself an independent from now on, which would mean that essentially there's going to be less of a pressure on her to vote with Democrats, but she also certainly can't count on Democratic support for her re-election bid. So if Kirsten Sinema wants to have any chance to win re-election, she needs to do what this guy did. Joe fucking Lieberman. He won a Senate election in 2006 as a member of the Connecticut for Lieberman Party, which essentially means he was an independent. He founded that party solely for the purpose of running for Senate. And he did so because he actually lost the Democratic primary against Ned Lamont due to the fact that he was fairly pro-war. He supported the Iraq War at a time where the general attitude in the Democratic Party had already shifted against the war. He only narrowly lost against Ned Lamont. But instead of accepting defeat, he said, "No, I'm a fighter. I've been in there forever. If the Democratic Party doesn't want me, I don't need them." So he essentially declared his candidacy as an independent. Now, the reason why he ended up winning is because, well, he was backed by most Republicans. And he was endorsed by a couple of Democratic U.S. senators. He was endorsed by a couple of Democratic congressmen. And he was also endorsed by a couple of Republicans, like Susan Collins and Newt Gingrich. And he had very broad appeal. So the way how he won is he became an independent candidate, but he also became the Republican Party candidate. And by combining the Republican and more moderate to right-leaning Democratic vote, like the center Democratic vote, the independent vote, and the Republican vote, he was able to beat a Democrat in a fairly Democratic state. However, there are two main differences between Joe Lieberman and Kirsten Sinema. The only way for Kirsten Sinema to win is to do that thing, to run as an independent with Republican backing. If Republicans were convinced that no Republican could win Arizona and that Kirsten Sinema has enough of a right-leaning voting record to be worth supporting, then she could win. However, Joe Lieberman, again, he had two things that Kirsten Sinema didn't have, and that is number one, he had name recognition. He was in there for 16 years. He ran for vice president. People knew him. At number two, he had broad support across both parties. I already looked at the endorsements. He was endorsed by many office-holding Democrats. He was endorsed by many office-holding Republicans. I have a hard time believing that Kirsten Sinema is going to get any Democratic endorsements. And to be completely honest, I also have a hard time believing that the Republican Party, that has become much more polarized, just as like the Democratic Party, would support her independent run as well. So, from a politics perspective, Kirsten Sinema is definitely making the right decision because she's an independent, she's voting right through the middle, so associating herself with one party and being pressured to go one way or the other would be stupid. But in an electoral perspective, it is essentially suicide, because not everybody's Joe Lieberman, and our country is also not as undivided as it was in 2006. Of course, we were divided in 2006, but nobody stormed the Capitol back then. So yeah, if Kirsten Sinema really wanted to stay in the job, she would have decided to remain a Democrat and quietly fall in line with the Democrats every single step of the way. But that's not what she did. She actually, maybe she's doing it for the attention, but maybe she also just really believes that a true senator should have an independent mind and always think of what is the right decision and what is the good thing to do in this very moment, and not what is the good thing to do in the long term for one's political career. That is what I believe, and that is what I'm going to give Kirsten Sinema credit for, because I believe there are a bunch of senators who'd rather be independents than associated with either party. However, none of them have the guts to do it and break with their party because they're afraid that they're going to lose. So that's what we need more of. I want to see more politicians put their own career at risk and just do what they think is right. That's it for this video. Have a good day, guys. Max out. See you later. Bye-bye.